Hey ladies, so I recently posted a card on my website with the field flowers. It was absolutely adorable and I just loved it. And just so you know, I cased it from the Stampin' Up! Catalog. I was looking for a perfect Get Well card and I just loved how that card turned out. So I went ahead and made it my own. I added a tissue box on the inside, and because my instructions were a little sketchy, we're going to do a video and I'm going to clear it all up for you. So this is the card that I had made. I should say I cased this whole portion here, but on the inside I made a fun little tissue box. Oh, don't you just love it? Oh, that is super cute. Love the tissue box. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to stamp something that says Get Well here. We'll punch it out. We'll stick it right there. So sorry you've been so ill. And then you'll open it up and it'll say Get Well. So head over here with me and we'll get started. Okay, ladies, I think I have everything. You know, that tissue box, it was really hard to explain. So I had to go get all the things I needed so that I could show you exactly how I did that. Okay, so bear with me here. I love making this tissue box and I love this card. It's with the field flower stamp set. I've made a lot of other cards with it as well, but everything kind of varies. I like to use the different stamp sets in various ways. So this one's really fun. It's really easy. I think you'll be surprised. So what do you need? This is actually chocolate chip cardstock, Whisper white cardstock, and a piece of primrose petals. So super easy, not a lot of stuff involved. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fold our chocolate chip piece in half. And for those of you that have seen my videos before, no need to worry. I will have everything posted on brandyscards.com on my website. You can also look in the description of this video and you'll be able to see the link to take you where the dimensions are. Okay, so what I've done is I've just mounted the little flower, and the flower that I have used is the one that has the most detail. And what I decided to do, in the catalog, this was not done, and I wanted to shake it up. So what I decided to do was take Early Espresso ink and just stamp on my chocolate chip cardstock. So it kind of just puts this image of this really pretty flower, and it sort of kind of makes a designer DSP sort of. And the espresso pops really nice off the chocolate chip cardstock. So that's what I did first, all right? Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set that aside, and then the next thing I did is I've got a piece of Whisper White here, and we're going to go ahead and stamp on that. So I've got Lucky Limeade here. Again, I have mounted my stem. And so this card is basically everything has been stamped off because I wanted it more subtle. So what I've done is I'm going to ink up my stem. I'm going to stamp it on scrap paper. And then I'm going to kind of come in here and stamp it again right there on my card. There you go. So I'm going to stamp that on my card. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and clean off all of this espresso on my image because we're going to use the exact same image. And we're going to go to Primrose Petals, okay? So now the new stamp pads, they're pretty sticky and they can get a lot of ink on there. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp on, okay? And then you can either stamp off again and stamp back on, or you can kind of ink it up and stamp it a couple of times and then stamp it again. So now this one very well might be a little dark. I kind of wanted a little bit more of a contrast. So let's go ahead and try this just one more time. We're going to take and ink up our stem. We're going to stamp it off. And then we're going to go ahead and stamp it right on there. And set that back down. Let's ink up our primrose petals. And very lightly stamp it off. Stamp it on. And ink it up again. And then I'm going to stamp it off 1, 2, 3. And then the fourth time we'll go to my card. That's perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. So that's exactly what I was hoping for. And then what we're going to do is I have already punched this to save time. This is one of the border punches that Stampin' Up! Sells. Really like it. I went ahead and just punched that ahead of time just to make it easy. We're going to add some tombow glue to that or some tape runner. Line up that decorative edge with your Whisper White piece. And then, pretty easy, we're going to glue this whole piece right to the top of our card, okay? And sometimes I cut these things a little long and you might need to snip it. I didn't realize that before I put the glue down. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and just layer that right there on the top of our card. Pretty easy. So you guys are well on your way, okay? And then what we're gonna do is I just took a little piece of primrose petals. It's just a small, it was actually I think a scrap originally. And I kind of wanted it to sort of have a little character. So I just kind of bent it with my hand, my fingers. The very bottom, I'm just gonna put a little banner type of cuts in it. So it kind of comes to like a little banner, okay? And then I'm gonna use a couple mini glue dots. Now you could probably use tombow glue too. It really doesn't matter, but just for time's sake, I'm going to use mini glue dots. I'm going to go ahead and stick that right about there. That's perfect. And then to save time, I went ahead and grabbed my itty bitty buttons and I put my twine through it, my Stampin' Up! White, Whisper White twine. Put that through it and I tied a bow. Now I didn't want to put you through the pain of watching me try to put the string through the holes and tie it because, you know, this twine is so much fun to work with. But oh my word, sometimes it can be a nightmare. But it's really great to work with it. But it's really little. So we're going to stick that right there in our card, and that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right, so I'm going to set this aside, and let's make our tissue box. So here's the tissue box again. It's right like that on the inside. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our tissue box. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull in your Simply Scored. That's the first thing we're going to do is grab our Simply Scored, and I have cut this, and I will give you all of the dimensions on brandyscards.com. But I think I cut it at 3 by 5, but I will again give you all those dimensions on brandyscards.com. So I took the 5 edge and I scored it at 1, and then I scored it again at 2.5, and then I scored it again at 3.5, and that was it. So I scored it at 1, I scored it at 2.5, and I scored it at 3.5. So this is the fun part. I have to put this little stylus away because I always lose that thing. So let's grab our scrap paper back in here. We're going to set the primrose petals down, and we're going to take our stamp. We're going to ink it back up. And you know how tissue boxes, they always have like the greatest little patterns, and well, some aren't so great. Some of them are pretty out there, but a lot of times they're really pretty, tissue boxes are. So I kind of wanted to recreate that look of the tissue box. So we're going to go ahead and just stamp it all around so it looks nice and pretty. And then we're going to prep our paper. So that's that. So the paper is all prepped and ready to go. So what I was trying to explain to you in my directions was how I made the tissue box. So what you're going to do is you'll see that as I scored it, there's a 1 inch, and then there's 1.5 inches between these two. So you're going to take the 1 inch and the 1.5 inches, and you are going to go ahead and fold that over the 1.5 inches. We're going to then take our circle, our oval scallop, and so the reason that you're folding this down is because if you were to try to go in with it open, you couldn't get to the center of your tissue box of the 1.5 piece. So by folding it in half, or by folding that 1 inch piece on top, you can now reach into the center, okay? So that is why I did that. So we're gonna go in there and pop that out real easily. And see, there you have it. See that? And that's your tissue box. Now I've had a couple of people at my stamp camp say, well, I don't like the fact that you can see this. Well, let me just tell you, when you add your tissue in there, you can't even see it. I mean, you're looking at the tissue and it can't even barely see it. So it's totally fine. I wouldn't worry about that one bit. Okay, so, you know, you can use tombow glue, but we're going to just go ahead and use mini glue dots again. And that's just because it's easier and it's a little bit faster and save time for you guys. So we're just going to put some mini glue dots, and so you're going to put it on your 1 inch piece. And this piece here is going to go on the bottom of your card. So we're going to go ahead and just add your mini glue dots to that piece. And I just put a few on there. I may have put a few too many, but that's okay. All right, so here's my card. We're going to open the card, and ideally I would have a white piece glued in there. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, let's grab some Whisper White right over here. Got some Whisper White, And luckily, I have my handy dandy cutting board right here. And I always try to keep my cutting board close by because you never know when you're going to need it. So let's just make an inside piece. And so the inside piece is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. Perfect. Now, this is not scripted. I'm just kind of going on the fly. So what I think I'm going to do, since I'm enjoying y'all's company, is we're going to go ahead and stamp up our stamp again, and we're going to go ahead and make a pretty flower on the inside as well. There we go. We'll put that on the inside, and how about we stamp in primrose petals again, stamp it off, stamp it on, stamp it off, and we'll stamp it on. Perfect. Very pretty. Okay, so let's glue that on the inside of our card. There we go. So let's get that on the inside of this card. There we go. Now that is going to be very, very, very pretty. I can tell already that I'm going to wish that I had done that to all of the other cards that I made like this. All right, so let's go back to our tissue box. That's where we left off. The very bottom here has your mini glue dots, and then of course the very top. So you're going to put the bottom piece flush with your card, and then you're going to wrap this piece around, and it should sit flush, just like that. There you go. There you have it. That's exactly how I made that card. And so when you open it and you fold it flat, and then when it opens up, you'll have your tissue box. See there? Pretty cool. And then so basically what I did is I just glued some tissues on the inside. And you know, you can stamp any greeting that you would like on this card. On this one, I chose "So sorry you've been ill." And I stamped the "You've been ill" in the primrose petals. I thought it looked fabulous. It really popped it off the card. And again, I would recommend stamping "Get Well," punching it out with a punch, and just gluing it right here. So then when you open it up, you can see the "Get Well" on there. So I hope that I hope you've enjoyed today's presentations. Sorry for the sketchy directions, gals. You know, I've never been a good writer, but boy, I love to craft and I love to share what I've come up with. So I hope that you give it a try. And thanks again for stopping by, and have a fantastic day.